Alright, hello, welcome. This video is about quadratic equations. Now, when I start factoring, because there's basically, you can solve with the zero factor property, solving square roots, completing the square, the quadratic formula, and the discriminant, which we won't get into in this video. But your first method of attack is always going to be to factor it. When you have a quadratic, and what you're looking for is, do you have a squared? If you have an x squared, that's called a quadratic equation. So the first one, what we're going to do is we're always going to check to see if we can factor it. So in order to do that, I'm going to tell you that you can factor this one. So I'm going to walk you through factoring. And if this is something that is not familiar to you, then I have some supplemental videos that you can watch just on how to factor. So to factor, I'm going to use what's called the master product property, where S is the sum, P is the product. So I've got 10x squared plus x minus 2. I'm going to factor the left side and then set it equal to 0. So I multiply the 10 times the negative 2, and that is negative 20x squared. And then my sum is my middle term. So that's 1x. My product is my first times my last. So that's my product. So I want to know what multiplies together to give you negative 20 and adds to give you 1. So that'll be 5 and negative 4. If you take 5x minus 4x, you get 1x. If you take 5x times negative 4x, that's negative 20x squared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause. Sorry, somebody was in my room. He probably didn't even know I was gone. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring down, and I'm not writing, hold on. We're going to bring down the 10x squared, replace the 1x with 5x minus 4x, and then bring down the negative 2. And then we're going to group the first two, group the last two. So you can take a 5x out of the first two, because 5 goes into 10 2 times, and 5 goes into 5 1 time, minus, in 4 and 2, I can take out a 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times, 2 goes into 2 1 time. And if you did it right, those two should be the same. Okay? If they're not the same, then you did it wrong. So that should be 2x plus 1. My pen just got really big. And then whatever's left goes into the other parentheses. So that's factoring. So if that is something that is not familiar to you, let me know. Or you don't even have to let me know. Just go watch the supplemental video on factoring. And I really wanted that to be thinner. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to set them both separately equal to 0. So 2x plus 1 equals 0, and 5x minus 2 equals 0. So I minus the 1. I just solve it straight up. So divide by 2, hold on, pause it. Okay, I'm back. People keep coming in my classroom. It's cool. It's fine. So you add 2. Oh, wait, I'm not done with this one. I'm sorry. I apologize for this video. So 5x equals 2, divide by 5, x equals 2 fifths. If you're watching this video with sound, draw a little smiley face right there next to property. Come show it to me, and I'll give you a point added to anything you want. Next. Especially since this video is kind of struggling. Alright, so next thing, so that's the first way. First method of attack is to factor. So the next thing you can do is, if you don't have an x, if you just have x squared, you can just take the square root of both sides, and x equals plus or minus the square root of 29. That one's done. I feel like there might be another, yep, right there. And then you have x squared equals a number, so take the square root. So x equals plus or minus, that's negative, the square root of 144 is 12, so it would be plus or minus 12i. So that one actually has two imaginary solutions. And then C, we have x minus 8 squared, so you can actually take the square root of that one as well. So you have x minus 8 equals plus or minus the square root of 24. You move the 8 over. So x equals 8 plus or minus the square root of 24. And we can break down that square root of 24 just like we talked about in the last video. That's 2 and 12 and 2 and 6 and 2 and 3. So those two 2's, 2 become 1 and they come outside, and then you have a 2 and a 3 left on the inside, so that's 6. So it's 8 plus or minus 2 square root of 6. Next. The next thing we're going to look at is if you can't, what do you do if you can't factor or you can't take the square root of both sides? So we either complete the square or we do the quadratic formula. Both of these you should recognize from high school math, however long ago that was. So completing the square, the steps are listed on the previous page. So step 1, oh, let me make a note. You complete the square if, I'm going to make some notes right here, complete the square if A is 1 and B is even. That is the only time I would complete the square. Otherwise, it's a nightmare, it's very difficult, and you should just use a different method. A is 1, B is even. So you use the quadratic formula. If you can't factor, I think I was off the screen, and A is not 1 or B is not even. That's the only time I would use the quadratic formula. So the first one, A is 1, B is even, so I'm going to, and I can't factor it. Just take my word for it. There's nothing that'll multiply to give you negative 20 and add to give you 10. So you move the 20 over, so add the 20 and add a blank. Now, you fill in the blank with, hold on, I got a kid in my room. I'm sorry. It's the end of the school year, and I keep having kids come in my room, but I don't have any kids, so I'm trying to get some stuff done. So anyway, you take half of the 10 is 5, and you square it. So what goes in the blank is 25. Then you factor the left side. So you want to know what multiplies to give you 25 and adds to give you 10. That's 5 and 5. So the other way of looking at it is you bring down your x. If this is a plus, you bring down a plus. And then the number that goes here is half of 10. It's also the square root of 25. Equals 20 plus 25 is 45. Then you take the square root of both sides. We just solve it like we did the one just a minute ago. So you have x plus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 45. You move the 5 over. So if it's positive on the left side, it's going to be negative on the right side. And then we break down the 45. So that's 9 and 5, 3 and 3. 2 become 1. So it would be negative 5 plus or minus 3 comes outside, and then the 5 stays on the inside. And that's my answer. The next one, it has a number in front. So if it has a number in front, I don't care if my B is even. If I have a number in front, I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is x equals minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. I have a song. That's the song. That was the song. It's over. So a is 4, b is 6, c is 5. So you do x equals minus b, so negative 6, plus or minus the square root of b is 6 squared minus 4 times a is 4 times c is 5 over 2 times a is 4. Then you do negative 6 plus or minus the square root of, hold on, I'm going to pause and I'm going to get my calculator. Okay. So I'm just going to type in what's underneath the square root. So 6 squared minus 4 times 4 times 5. And I get negative 44. So that's negative 44 over 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to go up here. It's negative, so I scream I. So, whoops, what just happened? Hold on. Negative 6 plus or minus I squared of 44 over 8. Then I'm going to simplify the 44. I'll do that over here. 44 is 2 and 11, and 2 and 2 and 11, because it's 4 and 11. Sorry. The 2's get married. So it's 2i square root of 11, because again, I'm replacing the square root of 44 with the 2 and the square root of 11. Hold on. 1 second. Got it. My little recorder was over the, oh my God, was over the top of where I could get my pen. And now I need another highlighter. So you see the 6, which you can't see, the 2 and the 8. The 6, the 2, and the 8 all divide by 2. So that's 3, 1, and 4. And that's my final answer. That's right. Okay, so example 5, we're going to figure out which method to use. So my A is 1, there's no number in front of my x, and my B is even, so I'm going to complete the square. So x squared plus 6x plus a blank equals 3 plus a blank. So half of 6 is 3, squared is 9, so 9 goes in both blanks. I go here, it's an x plus, because it's plus, half of 6 is 3, 3 plus 9 is 12. I take the square root of both sides. So x plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 12. Move the 3 over, so negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 12. 12 is 4 and 3 and 2 and 2. So it's 2 square root of 3. So it's negative 3 plus or minus 2 square root of 3. This one, okay, so my A is 4. See, the number with the x squared is 4, and my B is not even. So I'm going to get everything on one side, minus 3x plus 5. I say that when you cross the line, you change the sign. Think about there being an invisible line through that equal sign. I'm trying to hurry because this video is getting long. So A is 4, B is negative 3, C is 5. So x equals minus B, so 3, plus or minus the square root of B, whoops, hold on, not B, B squared minus 4 AC over 2 times A. So I'm going to type all of what's underneath my square root into the calculator without actually typing the square root. Minus 4 times 5 is negative 71. So that's 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 71 over 8. You got a negative, so 3 plus or minus I square root of 71 over 8. 71 doesn't break down, so I'm done. So I still kept it under 13 minutes. Bye. See you next time.